Vada Sultanfuss addresses the audience and enumerates all the diseases she has had since she was just a baby. From being born jaundiced to contracting hemorrhoids by sitting on a toilet seat at a truck stop, she thinks she has all the diseases in the world. This 11-year-old hypochondriac's dad, Harry Sultanfuss, is preparing breakfast for the two of them, while Vada keeps rambling about her chest growing oddly, which can mean only one thing: cancer. However, Harry has come to terms with his daughter's outlandish personality, and oddly enough, grown immune to it. The year is 1972, Madison, Pennsylvania. Vada has a bunch of boys waiting for her. She promises to show them a real dead body if they pay her, as her dad operates a funeral parlor, which is also their home. Among the boys is Thomas Sennett, who says he has to go home. Vada shushes the other kid, who tries to make fun of Thomas. Thomas soon leaves for home, and all the other boys follow Vada into her house. They go to a room full of caskets, and even though the boys don't want to confess, they are pretty spooked out. With an air of mystery, Vada asks if the boys are ready, before opening a casket. They all gasp as she opens one, but soon are disappointed because it is empty. Vada's eccentric mind has an explanation for that too. Without losing the eerie aura, she says that sometimes when the dead are brought in, they are not actually dead, equating them to a headless chicken. She then takes them to another room, where her grandma sits on a rocking chair, zoned out. She takes advantage of the other kids' ignorance of the fact that she is her grandmother, and tells them that the old lady in the rocking chair has escaped the casket. Soon the chair starts rocking, and all the boys run out, scared. Harry calls Vada to deliver his packet of cigarettes. He, along with Arthur, is embalming a body. Vada is careful not to look, and keeps the package on the stool from behind the wall. Even though she cannot join them in the room, she remains garrulous while sharing all about her amuses. She only leaves after Harry asks her to, but soon she rushes to read the chart of the person who just lost his life. Shelley Devoto is a makeup artist. She soon arrives at Sultanfuss's, and Vada receives her at the door. She meets Harry, who she smites in their first meeting. She is here for the makeup artist job they have posted, but to her dismay, they forgot to mention makeup artist for the dead in the advertisement. She is taken aback when she realizes what the job entails, but pulls herself together and asks Harry if the job is still available. Harry is surprised. Nevertheless, he welcomes her and gives her the details of what she will be required to do. Even though Harry really likes how Shelley looks, he asks her if she usually wears the provocative clothes she's wearing at the moment. Taking the hint, she assures him that she will take care of how she dresses up, and will do her best. Vada is on one of her little adventures with Thomas, her good friend, who is allergic to anything and everything. She has come to visit the doctor, yet again, and claims to be sick. As usual, she is sent back by the doctor, who tries to assure her that she's doing absolutely fine. But Vada is not at all convinced, and says she'll get a second opinion before leaving. Vada is obsessed with death because of her milieu. When one has a funeral parlor as their home, they tend to be a tad bit peculiar, to say the least. While riding their bikes, Vada and Thomas meet Vada's teacher, Mr. Bixler. Thomas is not interested in meeting him, but Vada is more than happy, as she has a crush on her 5th grade teacher. She seems to be a little concerned for Mr. Bixler's finances, as he has just bought a big house. So he calms her by telling her about the creative writing lessons he is going to take over the summer break. Vada seems interested, and asks how much it would cost. He tells her $35. Having finished reading all the books Mr. Bixler asked the class to read over the break, she says she'll read some more before leaving. Mr. Bixler encourages the two to have fun. Thomas proposes they go peach picking, but Vada has her mind set on going home. So she rides back, and once in her room, she plays music and sings to her class photograph with Mr. Bixler in it. During dinner, Vada is lying on the floor, as Harry and her Uncle Phil serve dinner for themselves, unfazed. Soon Grandma begins singing loudly, adding to the oddity of the situation. Shelley runs to Vada, concerned, but Harry assures her she is fine and just pretending. Vada says this time it might be her prostate, before pretending to pass out again. Vada and Thomas are playing a game outside her house. Shelley sits with them for a while, when some girls from Vada's class pass by. They tease Vada, calling Thomas her boyfriend. They assert that Vada has kissed Thomas, but she defends herself by saying she would never kiss that ugly mouth. Thomas seconds her but soon realizes the backhanded insult. Shelley tells Vada not to let these girls upset her, and Vada agrees, saying she would never play with them, and only likes the company of people she finds intellectually stimulating. She has redeemed herself, and Thomas smiles at the compliment. Shelley compliments the mood ring Vada is wearing. She asks Shelley how she can get $35. Thomas points out how Vada wants to go to school, even on the break. She clarifies it is not a school but writing lessons. She further adds she wants to be a writer. Thomas is not happy and discloses the real reason she wants to go, but Vada retorts and makes him stop speaking. Shelley advises her to ask her dad. In the evening, she tries talking to her dad, asking him for the money, but he is too busy enjoying watching TV. When she nudges him a little, he recollects all her previous attempts of trying a gamut of activities, but never really sticking to one. He dismisses her, saying they'll think next summer. Vada plays on her own very often. Just like this day, when she is practicing basketball dribbling in her house, all by herself. Her dad doesn't have time to teach her, so she tries teaching herself. Lucky for her, Arthur is passing by. Even though he is going to the cemetery, he takes out time to teach her the proper technique and even shows her some moves. After he heads out, she starts dribbling using her newfound knowledge, but the ball slips and bounces down the stairs to the embalming room. Vada has never been to the room, so she slowly climbs down the stairs and peeks from behind the wall to see a covered dead body on the table. She takes a deep breath before dashing toward where the ball lies and quickly makes her way back to the door. But to her shock, it got locked when Shelley pushed the door from outside, a little too hard, thinking nobody was downstairs. Vada starts panicking and cries for help. She covers her ears and starts singing to herself, wishing this nightmare to be over. Thankfully, Shelley heard the door banging, and after a forceful pull, she opened the door. She rushes to Vada's side and asks her what happened. Vada tells her she had lost her ball. Shelley ushers her outside. Shelley is done with another body's makeup and asks Harry to take a look at her. Harry is shocked at the blatant display of loud colors on the deceased Mrs. Porter's face, who was Reverend Porter's wife. He asks Shelley if she saw the image of the deceased woman before starting. But Shelley, in her defense, says she accentuated her features a little, which Harry finds outrageous and asks her to do it over. Shelley takes the opportunity to talk to Harry about Vada's behavior, but Harry brushes her off, saying nothing is wrong with Vada, and asks her not to tell him how to raise his own daughter. One fine morning, Vada and Thomas are making Uncle Phil skip rope. They soon lose interest when Shelley arrives in her camper, and the kids ask for a tour. They are fascinated by the setup and go about exploring according to their interests. Thomas sits behind the wheel and pretends to drive, while Vada sits on one of the chairs and takes out a book to read from the shelf. Shelley pours them some soda, and Thomas looks for some cookies in the jar, but it turns out to be Shelley's money hiding spot. She explains she is saving for a rainy day. It is noon, and Thomas excuses himself because it is his lunchtime. Vada asks Shelley to go ahead without her, as she wants to use the bathroom first. Shelley soon leaves. Mr. Bixler is conducting his poetry class when Vada walks in. Mr. Bixler asks her the reason for her visit, and Vada says she's paid the fees. She wants to attend the classes, but Mr. Bixler reminds her that this is an adult poetry class. But seeing her enthusiasm, and a little coaxing from the others attending the class, she gets permission. Mr. Bixler asks his students to read their poetry. It starts with one of the students starting off beautifully but ending his poetry with aggression. Another writer writes a sensual piece, making all men, including Mr. Bixler, gulp and all women judgmental. This trance is broken when Vada volunteers to read her poem on an ode to the ice cream. Mr. Bixler appreciates her efforts but also points out that her poetry is missing a soul. He wants her to show her true feelings, her fears, secrets, and her innermost desires through her writing. This gets her thinking about her deepest secrets. She blames herself for her mother passing away 2 days after giving birth to her. Shelley is working when she hears the trumpet. Harry is playing it for his mother. Shelley comes into the room to let him know about the delivery of the flowers. Harry apologizes for being rude the other day, and Shelley understands. He shares how after Vada's mother passed away, Gramu came to take care of Vada, but her mind started wandering lately, and Vada has been acting a little crazy too. But he doesn't worry much, and says she'll soon snap out of it. Vada is fishing by the lake with Thomas, who hangs upside down from a branch of the tree. Thomas's rod catches something, and he comes tumbling down the tree. It is a small fish, and Vada insists on releasing it back. Thomas says he doesn't want to touch it, so Vada takes the hook out of the fish's mouth and throws it back. She accidentally pokes herself with the hook and asks Thomas to pick his scab so that they can rub their blood together to become blood brothers for life. When she asks Thomas to see if the fish swam back, Thomas takes a peek at the fish, which is dead, and lies that the fish swam back, proving he is a good friend. Shelley approaches Harry while he is typing a funeral notice for the newspaper. They have started to build a bond, and Shelley decides to take the initiative by hinting at going to the movies with Harry. But Harry doesn't say anything. As Shelley is about to leave, Harry asks her if she would like to play a game of bingo with him the next day at church. She immediately says yes and leaves with a smile. Vada finds Shelley applying lipstick in the bathroom. She doesn't find makeup very flattering, yet she goes inside to get her makeup done when Shelley calls her. Vada asks Shelley if she's pretty, and Shelley tells her just how pretty she is, while applying blue eyeshadow on her. Vada takes one look at herself in the mirror and gives Shelley her brutally honest opinion. Vada comes outside strutting and lies in front of Thomas. He innocently asks if she had a lip bleed and asks what happened to her eyes. Vada soon lets go of the facade and turns to her usual self when Thomas asks her about her bike. They go to her garage and find an old picture of Vada's parents. Thomas talks about heaven, and Vada explains what in her imagination heaven looks like. They soon leave, and Vada takes her mother's picture along. Harry is getting ready for his date with Shelley. Phil sees his brother getting ready and takes him in an arm lock to make Harry spit out the truth. Harry gives in and tells him about his date with Shelley. Phil gives a pep talk to Harry before he leaves. Vada sees her dad all dressed up for bingo and gets suspicious when he says he's going with Shelley. After he leaves, Vada goes out too. She visits Thomas and asks her to tag along to the church. When he refuses because he is too scared of his mom, she starts calling him names, and Thomas has no option but to follow her. The kids know they won't be allowed inside, so they watch the game from the window. Soon Vada's suspicions are proved right when Harry and Shelley have a moment and lean in for a kiss. But Vada calls bingo before their lips can meet, and she soon makes a run with Thomas to avoid getting caught. Vada lies awake in her room, waiting for her dad to return home. When she hears the car in the driveway, she runs to the window and sees Harry with Shelley. Shelley invites Harry to see her camper, and Harry accepts. He is fascinated by how spacious it is from the inside. They get to talking about Vada's mother, and Harry shares how he hasn't been on a date in the last 20 years. Shelley understands his nervousness and proposes they dance. While dancing, they share an intimate moment, and soon after, Harry calls it a night. He bids her goodnight and walks into his house. In their writing class, Vada participates in a meditation session where everybody tries to find what the person sitting next to them is feeling. Vada tries hard, but cannot feel anything, except the hangnail of the person she's holding hands with. She cannot sleep at night, so she goes to her grandma's room and sits on her bed holding her hands, trying to feel her aura. Vada and Harry are grocery shopping when they run into Shelley. Vada is still uncomfortable with Shelley's closeness with her dad, and tries to interrupt their conversation by trying to grab his attention, but is unsuccessful, as she is left alone to drag the shopping cart. It is the 4th of July. The Sultan Fuss and Shelley sing the national anthem. Harry cooks burgers and hot dogs for everybody. As they are about to eat, Shelley sees Danny coming. She rushes to him before he creates a scene. Danny starts arguing with Shelley about the camper, leaving Shelley with no choice but to introduce Danny, her ex-husband, to the Sultan Fuss. Vada sees a ray of hope and asks Danny if he is here to take Shelley back, but Danny says no. Harry tries to make peace and firmly asserts that the camper is Shelley's home. But when Danny doesn't back off, Harry gives him a teaser of what entails if he doesn't leave Shelley alone, and punches him in the gut. Vada stares at her dad wide-eyed. The firework starts, and Shelley confesses how impressed she is by Harry taking her stand. Vada sits with her Uncle Phil and talks about her dad and Shelley. She realizes her dad must love Shelley because she has never seen him hit anybody. Phil tells her that Shelley is good for her father because it is after a long time he has seen him so happy. Vada is back at the doctor's. The doctor tells her she doesn't have a bone stuck in her throat. She questions the veracity of his degree in medicine. Thomas waits outside at the reception for his friend. The receptionist shows him how to use an empty syringe as a water gun. Thomas asks one for Vada too. The receptionist asks him if he knows why Vada keeps coming back. Thomas simply replies that she thinks she doesn't have much longer to live. He doesn't believe her, but understands the reason behind her words. She is scared of all the dead people in her house, and she says if she can't beat them, she'll join them. If she is one of them, she won't be scared of them anymore. The receptionist acknowledges how lucky Vada is to have a true friend like Thomas beside her. Once outside the clinic, Thomas engages in a water fight with Vada, and she runs after him as he makes his escape. Soon they reach a jungle and find a beehive. Thomas starts spraying it with water, but Vada asks him not to, as the bees might sting them. Thomas doesn't stop there and starts throwing rocks at it. Vada does the same, and the hive falls to the ground. Vada notices her mood ring is missing, and they start searching for it, but soon see the swarm of bees. So they make a run for it and end up jumping into the lake. Vada reaches home soaking wet. Harry calls out to her, asking her to get ready to go to the carnival in 10 minutes. She gets excited, but as soon as she hears Shelley is tagging along, her smile fades away. They enjoy themselves, and Vada even wins a goldfish. She notices a ring on Shelley's finger and asks her about it. It is then that Vada comes to know her dad is getting married to Shelley. She cannot accept such a big change and remains quiet for the rest of the evening. But soon, an opportunity presents itself for Vada to take out her annoyance: bumper cars. She insists on riding with Shelley and makes her target the entire time they ride the cars. The next day, Vada visits Thomas home. She gets a bit envious seeing his mom wiping his milk mustache and wonders how it feels to have a mother she never had. Thomas knows exactly why she's there and asks her where she is running off to this time. She says California. After riding for a while, Thomas stops and says he's tired of running. Besides, they've been going in circles. They both rest for a while, and Vada confides in Thomas, telling him her father is getting married to Shelley, and she doesn't like Shelley, but Thomas thinks otherwise. He likes Shelley because she is funny. Soon it gets dark, and Thomas leaves, as his mom will worry if he isn't home for dinner. Vada stays for a while longer, but soon gets bored, because no one has come looking for her yet. She climbs down the tree and walks back home, and sees his grandma and dad asleep in front of the television. The next day everybody is woken up by the piercing scream of Vada. She runs down looking for her dad, but meets Shelley instead. She is panicking as Shelley tries to calm her down and asks what happened. Vada claims she is hemorrhaging. Shelley knows what happened. She takes Vada to her room and explains the concept of menstruation and reproduction. Vada is annoyed that nothing happens to boys. At that moment, Thomas shows up at her doorstep. Still annoyed, Vada goes to answer the door and pushes Thomas, asking him not to come back for 5 to 7 days. Now spending her day indoors, Vada stays with Gramu. It is just this once, she leaves Gramu to go to the ladies' room, but gets distracted by Shelley and Harry across the hall. That Gramu makes her way to the viewing in the other room. In one of her delusional episodes, Gramu walks to the casket, picks a rose, and starts singing a song, to everybody's shock. Harry and Shelley rush to usher Gramu out of there, all the while apologizing to the families and friends. Later, Harry scolds Vada for not keeping an eye on Gramu. She doesn't say anything but storms off in anger. There is a huge gap in the father-daughter relationship. Harry is hardly aware of the changes his daughter is going through. A couple of days later, Vada and Thomas sit under the willow tree, beside the lake. They are having one of their intellectual conversations, and Vada poses the day's topic: why do people get married? She expresses her desire to marry her crush, Mr. Bixler, but Thomas objects, saying it is against the law, and presents a very plausible explanation of getting straight A's if she gets married to her teacher, which isn't fair to other students. They walk back dragging their bikes. Vada and Thomas promise not to tell anyone about the kiss. Before Vada leaves, Thomas asks her if she would consider him instead if she doesn't marry Mr. Bixler. Vada replies an affirmative, bringing a wide smile to Thomas's face. Thomas is determined to bring Vada's mood ring back from the woods. He goes back to find it. While searching under the leaves, he kicks the beehive the kids had destroyed earlier, unaware that it still had bees in it. He soon finds the ring nearby but is attacked by the bees, resulting in an allergic reaction and, consequently, his passing away. The sheriff visits Harry's house to let him know about the tragedy. Harry is shocked beyond belief. He comes to Vada's room to give her the news. He tells her what happened. Vada soon suffers from a panic attack and runs to the clinic to see the doctor. She projects what happened to Thomas and says she is stung by bees. Vada refuses to come out of her room. Shelley is genuinely concerned because she is not eating. Judy, another girl from Vada's class, visits Vada's house. Shelley explains how Vada is not feeling good and promises to tell Vada about Judy's visit. Thomas's funeral is taking place, and Vada still refuses to come out of her room. Shelley tries to coax her, but it is in vain. She goes to Harry and pleads with him to do something. She feels that Harry is running away from the feelings, and he needs to stop. She shares that when she first came there, she wasn't thrilled about the job. But when she saw their family, she felt that maybe she could work with one and find happiness in little things, like being invited to dinner once in a while. She tells him not to ignore the living, especially his daughter. This leaves Harry contemplating his relationship with Vada. The minister starts officiating the ceremony, and finally, Vada comes out of her room and sits on the stairs. As the tears start flowing, she can't help but think of all their times together. She didn't just lose her only friend, but her companion, her partner in crime, and the one who truly understood her. She walks up to his casket and has a meltdown as she tries to wake him up. Every person in that room has their eyes welled up. They all witness the demise of a true friendship. Unable to take it anymore, Vada runs out of the house and keeps running, hoping that it will take her heartache away. She runs to Mr. Bixler's house and confesses her love for him. She wishes to stay with him. At that moment, Susan, Mr. Bixler's fiancée, walks out of the house. Finding out about his engagement, a devastated Vada runs away. She goes to their spot near the lake and climbs on the willow tree. She makes her way to the dangerously higher branches and thinks about all the time she has spent there with her dear friend Thomas. It is dark outside, and Vada's family is distraught because she hasn't come back. The sheriff visits their house and tells them they haven't found her. A worried Shelley tries to argue with the sheriff, and soon they see Vada walk in. Shelley hugs her, relieved that she is okay. Later at night, Shelley brushes Vada's hair as Vada opens up to her for the first time. She confesses she stole money from her cookie jar for her writing classes. Vada is reluctant to return to the class, but Shelley encourages her to dedicate her first book to her, and she'll forget about the stealing. She puts Vada to bed and waits for Harry to come back. A disheveled Harry comes back, and Shelley tells him Vada is back. He rushes to meet his daughter, and finding her asleep, he adjusts her covers and kisses her goodnight. As he is about to leave, Vada asks him if she is the reason her mother passed away. Harry sits beside her bed and tells her it is not her fault. Sometimes things happen which are not in our control. Vada asks him about her mom and if he misses her. He says Vada has her mom's eyes, and how her laugh sometimes reminds him of his late wife. He has missed his wife for a long time now. He does think of her when he sees sunsets or pretty flowers and knows she would have loved them. Vada says she thinks of Thomas when she climbs the willow tree. Harry tells her to keep these good memories with her. He wishes her to be happy and not old and grumpy like him. But Vada thinks it is not too bad to be like him. He kisses her goodnight. The father-daughter had a hearty chat after a very long time. Harry is at a cafe, having his breakfast, when Mrs. Sinnett sees him and calls him from the window. He meets her and asks how she has been doing. She says it is difficult, but she is coping somehow. She asks about Vada, and Harry calls her. Vada is at the counter and rushes to meet Mrs. Sonnet when she sees her. She hugs her, and Mrs. Sonnet reciprocates by hugging her tightly. She has been meaning to visit Vada because she wanted to give her a ring Thomas had on him. It was Vada's mood ring. Vada gets emotional thinking Thomas had gone back to retrieve her ring. But she controls her tears and says that Thomas will be all right because her mother will take care of him. Mrs. Sonnet thanks her and walks away. Vada returns to Mr. Bixler's class. She has come to read her poem to the class. She recites her poem Weeping Willow, which is a dedication to her friend Thomas. She finally managed to fill her poem with her heart and soul. Things are a little better for Vada. She's taking baby steps away from her hypochondria. She is now friends with Judy, and they spend their evenings riding their bikes together.